Welcome to Uncharted Entrepreneurship, your front row seat to daring stories from the boldest business trailblazers forging new paths across industries. I'm your host, Brent Peterson, armed with inside access, sitting down with partners, founders, and CEOs in the entrepreneurial world. Let's explore. Welcome to this episode. Today I have Edith Nwosu. She is the CEO of the Lady E Effect. Edith, why don't you go ahead, tell us your day-to-day role and maybe one of your passions in life.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. So, to touch bases in regards to your question, so I am the founder and CEO of the Lady E Effect. I am a single member LLC, although I have a lot of partnerships with many different well-known companies such as Apple, Google, YouTube, Amazon, etc. So, what my day would consist of, it kind of depends on the particular day of the week. I have a lot of areas in my role. I pretty much provide coaching and consulting services to my clients as well as B2B services to my clients. So that pretty much is in the specialty of personal development, lifestyle coaching, similar to life coaching, and just touching various areas of the individual. So each of my customers, of course, they have a customizable service that's for them. So that can be anywhere from like their mental space, their behavior, their routines, areas of their health that they need more improvement of in regards to health and wellness. So I pretty much have either one-on-ones, sometimes group settings, depending on that nature. Definitely on a daily basis, I can have a series of meetings, whether it be phone or video, whether it's Microsoft, Google Meets, or Zoom. I conduct a lot of different meetings in regards to, of course, business and services as well. And if you could repeat the second part of the question, I just want to make sure I answer it correctly.
A passion? Any passions?
Absolutely. So my passion has always been helping people, the needs of service. That's something I've always been passionate about. So since a very young girl, I would volunteer at my elementary school in special needs and autism classes. I always grew up in a space of diversity. So coming from a Nigerian background, but also growing up in the Maryland, DC, Virginia location, it's pretty diverse here. So that's a good thing. But I did learn early on just kind of the separation that takes place. So early on, I had a need of just catering to all facets. So even when it comes to my company too, I don't really just specialize in just women. You know, men have needs, children have needs, women that have needs. So that personal development comes from that human analogy of just the psychology and the behavior of what consists in a healthy lifestyle for everyday individuals. So whether they're parents or professionals, that's really what I'm passionate about: transformation, healing, and just going from one space to another. So as I've learned, and I'm still always, of course, a student of life, I know that it's important to facilitate that through my practicing services and expertise, as well as my company, to facilitate that to customers, and just definitely communications in regards to community transformation. Just being of service is super passionate to me.
That's great. Thank you so much for that.
Of course.
Edith, before we get started on our content, before we start talking about your business and your purpose and things like that, you have voluntold to be a part of the Free Joke Project. And so all I'm going to do is tell you a joke. And all you
Okay.
have to say is, should this joke be free, or yes, you could charge for that joke. So here we go.
No problem.
How do you get down from an elephant? You don't. You get down from a goose.
Is that a free joke, or is that something that you should be charging for?
Yeah, I don't know. That was pretty bad. I'll give you that one. Well, good. You got you laughing at least.
I was going to say
All
that.
right,
Must be fun.
let's talk about the Lady E effect. Tell us the purpose. Well, first, give us a little background on your business.
So, touch bases on it a little bit previously, but my name is Edith, also known as Lady E. I'm the founder and CEO of the Lady E Effect, which pretty much specializes in personal development, business solutions, and community transformation. So, of course, I look at that as the three pillars of life. Of course, we come from a huge, diverse world of communities, businesses, and people. But I pretty much have those three pillars because, a lot of times in business and professional spaces, we talk about, of course, success, revenue, and things that definitely have a purpose, but it comes back to the person. We all were created to be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. So there's a purpose and a fulfillment that takes place when it comes to life and the fulfillment of it. So, in regards to my actual company in areas that I touched briefly before, the services that we provide, I also have a YouTube and a podcast space where I interview purpose driven professionals like ourselves that, are very passionate about serving the community worldwide. So, in terms of my company, fulfillment and purpose is what it's based on. I'm a woman of faith. I believe that I was created to fulfill a purpose, and all of us as humans are. So, in those areas of coaching and consulting that I provide within my business from that facet, from personal and business development, this is what takes place with that community transformation. The community cannot be able to have a healthy environment without, prospering businesses, and there's no businesses without the people. So in order for businesses to thrive and scale and do well, there's a lot of developmental places that take place in the process of growth. So even when it starts with personal development, that growth does not take place without you being able to identify, number one, your pain points. We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses, right? So it's super important to be able to understand that. So I really take a deep dive, especially coming from a diverse background of education, healthcare, customer service, and the list goes on. At a very, very young age, I actually had my first job at 8. So I learned very, very early on, coming from an entrepreneurial and business background in my family as well too as my community, to really be of service to the people, right? So in the aspect of the business and personal consulting and marketing as well as coaching, it's important to remember we're not robots, we're people. We have feelings, we have emotions, we have health, we have our bodies that we need to learn about. So, I really make sure that we go on a deeper dive on the importance of health and wellness from the personal development aspect. As professionals, it's so easy to get burnt out, it's so easy to be overwhelmed, it's so easy to kind of feel winded, which is even daily operation. So I really encourage us to slow down in terms of, professionals as well as my clientele, so they understand that, we're not an octopus, whether we're a single member LLC or the owner of an empire. We need to learn how to take things a day at a time, understand balance and the importance of that, as well of course, discipline, patience, practicing boundaries, things that are very healthy for your everyday living. So you can be able to have a sound mind and have a place of serenity. So I think that is super, super important to highlight, as well as through all pillars of my company. Whether it's the podcasting space or the business solution space, that area too, providing services from a marketing and kind of like a business development structure place for either small businesses or just businesses of all entities. So many things are changing around in the technology space. So everybody doesn't always have the mental capacity to kind of like be in tune with what's going on. So my company also provides services there to just kind of take that heavy weight off your shoulders and make things more breathable for companies worldwide.
And that's awesome. And so, yeah, as you get a client and maybe you're coaching them, how would you advise them to see how purpose can drive their company?
Oh, well, for someone that is so embedded on purpose, I really make that a necessity for individuals in terms of my clients to really grasp, because I think, especially as humans, growing up in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, this is a very fast paced location. So, this is an area, of course, you think of the White House, the government, people, of course, want to be successful and things like that. So, sometimes it kind of feels like individuals are either running like a rat race or a hamster race, just moving, but purpose, right? We were all created for a purpose. So that's something that I encourage my clientele to just take a step back, right? Understand that each of us have a unique purpose in our creation, and understand that, we all are created for individual purposes that all connect together, which is where that community transformation takes place. So when I listen to the pain points and just, the questions and concerns that each client that I speak with has in regards to their life, whether it's from a parenting perspective, a single individual perspective, or, simply a professional. I want them to understand, especially those that deal with maybe depression or anxiety or stress or those painkillers that can really just strip away that serenity of peace and understanding that you were created to fulfill. I encourage them to understand that purpose is life. It's a part of your life. You were created to fulfill, right? But also something where it doesn't put pressure on them, because this is a journey. It's not, a race. It's something that you do need to learn and understand the balance when you're getting deeper into your purpose, and also encourage them to understand that this is a process. Life is a process. Even when you do get income or high revenue, there's levels of personal development that takes place in that fulfillment as well. So I encourage purpose, because that's really what we're all here for. And it's not really that stigma that they tell us, in the world or social media or whatever. We don't have purpose based on what we see. Purpose is already within us. So when we tap in that inner self, then we're able to really understand that the purpose has already started. Once you're in line and in sync with your purpose, then fulfillment is it's like the ocean. You don't force it, it moves. And when you understand that, that's when balance can really take place.
When you're talking to a client, how do you get that? How is it that you help them to tell others what their purpose is? You do a great job, but how do you coach others to reveal what their purpose is in their business or even in their personal life?
That's a very good question. Thank you for asking. So, pretty much what I do is number one, I learned this at a very, very young age, especially working with children in all facets, whether it's child development, special needs, autism, behavior therapy, and the list goes on. Number one, as professionals, we have to understand that one of the most critical but underrated skill sets and gifts that we have to obtain is observation. It's very easy to ask people a series of questions, give them the floor to share, needs and concerns. But definitely, especially that, right? Just use an example with a child. When you first connect with the child, especially if you're not that child's parent, the child is either going to run to you or be closed off. So in the form of observation, when I listen to my clients, I give them the opportunity to speak. Sometimes if they are speaking in front of certain people, they may have the professional voice or feel like they have to have a certain persona when being presented in front of certain individuals, instead of just letting the person be free and just speak from the soul, speak from the heart, right? So, in terms of encouraging my clients to learn how to fulfill their purpose, I would even take, for example, I had a time where I worked with clients with substance abuse, right? So, substance abuse is something that, there's a lot of negative stigmas about it. And people think that if somebody is struggling with substance abuse, it's like, oh, they're partying or they don't have any seriousness in terms of life and fulfilling that. When a lot of times these things come from trauma, it comes from pressure, especially primarily working with men. As my clientele at the time, they had a lot of trauma around them. They had a lot of pressure, or they got to the point where they had too much success and they didn't really have a healthy environment to encourage them to set boundaries for themselves. So, in regards to purpose, I would encourage them to first write. I'm also an author and a writer too. So, I've just learned the value of journaling. We have so much on our brains, so much in our hearts, so much on our minds, and then we get distracted daily by TV, radio, technology. So we have all of these thoughts that are not even attached to our purpose, that are, we're just sponges, right? We're just absorbing it. So I first really give the client the opportunity to speak, share what's on their mind. Ask them, a few questions, but questions where they can be able to touch bases on questions where I don't have to ask multiple questions. And then when it comes to encouraging the purpose, I always encourage people to write. They don't have to be writers, they don't have to be authors, they don't have to be publishers, but when they start to write, then the flow of that purpose can start to take place. Some people were probably operating their purpose when they were a child, but, you know, the pressure of society told them that maybe they had to go to college or go this route and do something totally different that's not really in line with their purpose. So, things that I also like to do is give them the opportunity to touch bases on their childhood, right? What were their strengths? What were their weaknesses? What are some good memories that they had in their childhood that they could absolutely apply moving forward, or in this present moment in terms of just being an adult from where they are? And from there, you understand the trauma, you understand the pain point. And a lot of times people don't realize the trauma and the hardships and the experiences that they experienced prior to the present moment is related to their purpose. A lot of times pain transitions to purpose, right? Or, hardship or challenges take place. And I also learned this too playing sports, especially as an Olympian in the track and field space as a sprinter. I didn't win every race, right? But there was also something that I could learn. So there was a purpose behind the losses as well as the wins. So I encourage my clients to understand that the purpose is already there. They don't need to create a purpose. They don't need to start a purpose. The purpose has been there the whole time. Once they take a step back and going through certain exercises like writing things down, asking them specific questions where they can free their minds and understand that, wow, my purpose was here the whole time. I give them the open floor through different exercises and trainings to understand that purpose is not made up. It's literally within our human nature. So from there, they can be able to, a lot of them start to say, oh, this inspired me to write. This inspired me to start a business. With these pain points, this inspired me to work with children. This inspired me to do painting. There's a lot of ways that you can reach people. So I really just give them the floor to speak, write, and do very simple but very deep strategies and, activities so they can be able to understand that the purpose is there, right? It's like cleaning out of a closet. When you clean out a closet, a lot of times the things that you've been looking for were already there. There's just things that are cluttered that just need to be removed. Before you know it, the things that you're looking for have been there the whole time. So that's the way that I would describe my process with my clients.
That's great. If it sounds like sprinting is your athletic superpower, what would you describe your business superpower to be?
Thank you for asking that. So, I would definitely say my business superpower is transformation. Of course, when people think about transformation, I'm sure there's a lot of things that come into mind, but number one, is a very powerful word because it is powerful. Transformation is connected to life, it's connected to purpose, it's connected to deliverance, it's connected to development, training, a process, and that's something that's life itself. Life is not just this one area of facet, but I think as human beings living in such like a fast paced world, we forget how simplistic life is. And, through my services, I really make it a necessity for us to be encouraged as people, as well as my clients, to just slow down, learn how to slow down, take a deep breath, understand that there's areas of your life that, although yes, making money is important, providing for yourself and or family is important, but the inner you, a lot of times when I talk to clients that are parents, using that as an example, parents that are business owners or professionals, they say certain things like, if my child passes away, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I want to make sure this is set up for my child, or I want to do all of this for my child. But you also have to be able to do it for yourself too. As many people say, don't pour out of an empty glass. So even you can have revenue, but still pour out of an empty glass, right? Because there's pillars that are important, such as your cognitive, your mind, your soul, most important and priceless at that, as well as your mental and your emotional health before we even talk about physical. A lot of times people don't understand the things that are in their mind can lead to physical sickness. If you're stressed, it can be just as powerfully critical as having cancer, right? So when we understand the things that go on in our mind, when we understand the importance of balance, that transformation is absolutely super. I would say my business superpower, because no one that I work with will start at one point and stay there. Just like it is with track, there's a finish line that takes place. So whether it's cross country where you take your time, but you have that endurance to run through it, or you're a sprinter where it's like, okay, I got to be number one, or the most important thing, just finishing the race. That's why I definitely believe that transformation is my business superpower.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. What do you think the world needs right now in terms of business, how people run their businesses? What is the biggest thing the world needs right now?
That is a great question. I would say the biggest thing that the world needs today is wisdom. Now, when it comes to the word wisdom, of course, we can talk about intelligence, we can talk about information, we can talk about how smart we are or study to be, but wisdom is life. Wisdom is how life is produced. Being a woman of faith, I definitely take the time to really meditate in the word. It's really the foundation of my business, let alone my everyday living. And I've learned how, you know, learning harmful things can be very detrimental to us. So, the power of wisdom when it comes to discernment, learning the difference between good and bad, learning the difference between right and wrong, but also being able, most importantly, to have the wisdom to be able to facilitate and practitioner is super, super critical. Now, yes, people can be successful for various reasons, but when you really move in wisdom, abundance comes from a deeper and wider level. There's things that you can be able to understand, especially from a place of humility. As the Bible says, it's the principal thing. Get with wisdom, and with all that getting, get understanding. So, wisdom has different facets of it, but just being able to have discernment, comprehend, understand, be knowledgeable, and then take the wisdom that you have and spread it like wildfire. I definitely believe that's what the world needs, because there's a lot of amazing things that humans can do, but there's a lot of hidden pain that takes place because of the lack of wisdom. So even when it comes to learning, I've learned that through wisdom, there's a lot of things that we have to unlearn. And that's another form of wisdom too, because when you learn to unlearn things that are really detrimental and unhealthy for you, it allows you to have peace. It allows you to heal. It allows you to be the best version of yourself, which is that's something that we all strive to be. And money can't buy that. That's something that again comes back to the inner self and understanding that, when you're created for a purpose and you're humble, you love, you give, but you also set boundaries and limit your access when needed. These are all characteristics of wisdom. So when you practice this gives you the ability to really have a longer life, have a more peaceful life. And of course, that's something we all want. Yes, wealth and, you know, this and that, but having the serenity and the simplicity of wisdom is key.
That's great, Edith. It sounds like you have lots of wisdom already, and thank you so much for that. Edith, as we finish off the podcast, I give everybody a chance to do a shameless plug about anything they like. What would you like to plug today?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. So, for anyone that is interested in connecting with me, please check me out on the Lady E Effect. Always here to service the people. Open to business collaborations that can help contribute to the community as well. I also have a book on Amazon called Her Humanly Evolving Radiantly. Very, very cool book. Definitely check it out on Amazon, as well as my YouTube channel, the Lady E Effect YouTube channel, and my podcast is also available on that video wise. And for those that are just audio listeners, we have platforms such as Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and a few other options, but definitely check it out.
That's great, and I'll make sure I get all those onto the show notes. Edith Nwosu, thank you so much for being here today. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate your time.
Uncharted Entrepreneurship is a production of Content Basis LLC. Copyright 2023. You can find more award-winning content at contentbasis.io. And that wraps up the latest edition of Uncharted Entrepreneurship. Bold tales from entrepreneurial trailblazers. I'm your host, Brent Peterson, signing off after an incredible fireside chat with one of our intrepid trailblazing guests. Their first-hand perspective on conquering the unexplored wilds of business is just a taste of the rare wisdom you'll discover from pioneering entrepreneurs on this show. I also invite you to join me each week for insider commentary on the startup scene and digital marketing landscape on my Talk Commerce podcast. You can find Talk Commerce wherever you download podcasts or go to talk-commerce.com. I'd be grateful if you left a review and rating for Uncharted Entrepreneurship to help more bold founders find their way to game-changing insights that empower ventures to transform communities. This is your host, Brent Peterson, signing off for now. I'll see you around the virtual campfire next episode as we embark on another adventure into the great entrepreneurial unknown.